say that by the time I stabbed the Icon of Sin with the Slayer Crucible, I was more than satisfied with everything that came before. Probably the best $20 I have ever spent in my life. But I still wanted more. The Ancient Gods DLC. For the most part, it was just more of what I loved from the base game. There were only 3 missions, plus the final boss battle for Tag 2, for each part, but each mission felt a bit longer than the base ones to me, which was great. It allowed me to savor the rest of the combat as much as possible. Both DLCs play mostly the same as the base game, it's just that the first part is a bit harder, while the second part is a bit easier. Both parts are still good iterations of the mindfully violent, complex, and adrenaline-pumping combat from the first game, which I described in detail in the last video, link in the description. But to summarize, this isn't just a mindless shooter. This game requires you to play with intention. You have to use the right tools at the right time, kill the right enemies first, and farm resources on fodder. You also have to have quick reflexes and press about 100 buttons at a time. I'll discuss both DLCs in more detail in this video, along with the entire game's story, music, art style, graphics, battle mode, horde mode, cosmetics, and monetization. I'm P34J, and this is my review of Doom Eternal. As I said in the intro, Tag 1 is a bit harder than the base campaign, because the developers designed it for those who had mastered the combat. I was a bit shocked, but thrilled that the first level started me off guns a-blazing, with all the weapons and armor upgrades from the first game being automatically unlocked. I still haven't unlocked everything from the base game as of recording, so the extra frag charge came in handy, and I had to learn to exploit the meat hook's burning ability for armor. I also started using it for movement a bit more, as well as closing in on glory kills. Also, since I waited so long to play Doom Eternal, I had the benefit of starting the DLC like a week after I finished the base campaign on Nightmare, so I didn't have the experience of being rusty going into Tag 1. I also played both Tag 1 and Tag 2 on Nightmare. But the first fight taught me that although I had improved my skills in the base campaign, the game was still going to challenge me. And challenge me it did. The Marauders are already pissing me off, and the game introduced yet another enemy with temporary invulnerability, the Bloodmaker. You had to wait until she flashed green to shoot her in the head for the insta-kill. But her attacks were so powerful that I had to be careful not to get wiped while aiming for her, while also not taking too much damage from the surrounding horde. That's why I personally stopped using the precision bolt to kill her, instead hip-firing with the ballista. The turret demon forced me to use the precision bolt most times though, because I had to shoot them twice, and at most times at a farther range than the Bloodmaker. Similar to the Marauder, the Turret Demon and Bloodmaker slowed down the gameplay, but in a different way. As with the Turret Demon, I'd have to stand near some cover to protect myself while I was killing him, and with the Bloodmaker, as I was hip firing with the ballista, I'd have to try to do that as fast as possible as to not take too much damage from everything that was going on around me. I tried to take out most of the heavy and super heavy demons before I got to her, but if there was ever an opportunity that I could quickly kill her and move on in the arena, then I would take that opportunity. Sometimes the risk paid off, sometimes it didn't, but it was an extra layer to the gameplay. And then there's a Spirit Demon, which could possess and buff other demons after you killed its original host. This ability meant 2 things. 1, if there were any other heavy demons around, I'd have to kill them first so that the spirit wouldn't have another strong host. 2, after killing the host, you'd have to quickly exorcise the spirit using the microwave beam on the plasma rifle before another formidable host spawned. Killing a host is very easier said than done, because the spirit not only buffs them extremely, but they can't be frozen or faltered by grenades. These fuckers made my life a living hell, particularly in the last Slayer Gate and the final boss battle against the Seraphim. Top this off with the fact that the DLC had you fight more demons in quantity, and you've got one hell of a challenge presented in Tag 1. Hey, I'm proud to say that I hold that bear in a hell in that hallway immediately on the first try. Oh, and the Crucible's absence was felt via difficulty, but I didn't really find myself clamoring for it back because of my enjoyment of the challenge. Nor did I deem its existence in the base campaign pointless because it was implemented smartly in that campaign and enhanced the experience. Much like items in the classic Halo sandbox, it worked where it worked. Tag 2, however, was a bit easier, and I had a bit of trouble figuring out exactly why, but I think I can pinpoint some of the reasons here. The first mission didn't seem dense in enemies at all, mainly the sections with the armored barons, of whom never gave me any problems themselves. I only ever died to them on the last level, and that was only due to pressure from surrounding demons, namely those damn red-suited soldiers that couldn't be chainsawed. There were multiple areas that didn't seem that dense, but even the ones that were felt a bit easier, specifically the optional part of the second escalation encounter, which I actually beat on the first try. Maybe the Sentinel Hammer was carrying more of a load than I noticed at the time. The Sentinel Hammer is a new weapon in the Crucible's former slot that sends a powerful shockwave, stuns nearby enemies, drops ammo on use, drops extra health against frozen enemies, and drops extra armor against burning enemies. It can be charged via glory kills or by shooting weak spots. As a guy who rarely shot Revenant or Meticulous equipment down, I never egregiously exploited the mechanic, but the tool is so powerful that looking back, I still see it as a significant reason for the decrease in difficulty. The developers said something about wanting to make the player feel more powerful with the Sentinel Hammer, but earlier when the game was first coming out, id Software had a quote about power fantasy being more fulfilling as it is earned rather than given, so the Sentinel Hammer kind of contradicted that.
Because you can see the contradiction in these two statements. The power fantasy that's earned is much more satisfying than the one that's just handed to you, and we just wanted the player to feel powerful. The problem is that we already felt powerful because the game's design makes you feel powerful by learning its systems.
I feel like that philosophy was better fulfilled with the Crucible in the first game, especially with the last level against the Icon of Sin. Regardless of this, Tag 2 offered new and interesting experiences to keep me going, like multiple new enemies, meat hood targets to swing around doing platforming, and in some arenas, wacky arenas with hordes of one type of enemy, a bunch of power-ups on the ground, or both. The Cursed Prowler added a layer of prioritization, as taking a blast from him cursed the player with health damage over time and stripped away the dash ability. So I wanted to kill it first, and if it cursed me first, then I was forced to stop everything I was doing and blood punch him to remove the effect. Screechers were a challenge because they would temporarily buff surrounding enemies on their death. I tried to leave them for last, but when I fought the two tyrants, they seemed to self-destruct and buff them anyways. There was a fight against two Marauders with a bunch of Screechers on a platform. The hammer helped me kill the first one a little bit, but then I had to deal with a Baron of Hell immediately after. It's kind of weird retroactively figuring out there was controversy about the difficulty of these expansions at the time of release, because not only am I looking at smoldering ashes, the aftermath of a past war amongst players and developers, but also because I was affected by these experiences differently. As I played all three campaigns back to back, I kind of saw Tag 2 as a more relaxing time, a breather from the unfettered chaos the previous two campaigns offered. The way I see it, the first two campaigns were so amazing, 10 out of 10s, that the community almost self-imploded over an 8 or 9 out of 10 experience. As all the base campaign upgrades were automatically granted and the Fortress of Doom is not featured in the expansions, the exploration in the expansions was kinda neutered. That Arc Carrier hub world was absolutely pointless. There was nothing to explore or interact with, no life in it. All you could do is walk through the portal to the next mission, which could have been handled with a simple cutscene, and it was later on. But this didn't really sour my experience because there was already a ton of exploration in the first campaign, so the game allowed me to focus more on gameplay. I see this as a factor for why the gameplay was more heavily scrutinized in both DLCs, but I enjoyed both of them thoroughly. Regardless, there is still a decent chunk of exploration and extra content to experience. Both expansions have extra lives, armor, health, power ammo, and codex entries to be found. In addition, both campaigns have optional encounters. Tag 1 has secret encounters, but this time, since the weapons are fully upgraded, the awards are cosmetics. That secret encounter with the Marauder and Bloodmaker almost gave me an aneurysm. And then there are 2 more Slayer Gates. Bruh. That last Slayer Gate was so cocked. This shit started with 2 motherfucking Archvow demons. I couldn't even consistently kill them. I died to them over and over and over again, repeatedly getting fucked. And at the times that I was lucky enough to get past them, I had to deal with 2 Bloodmakers, one at a time thankfully, but while I was dealing with them, I had to deal with like 2 Doom Hunters, a Dread Knight, a Hell Knight, and a bunch of other shit at the same time. So it was like, and then when I finally got through that wave,
Marauder. No! Why? Why is that in the game?
Possessed Marauder. Why is that even in? How does that even exist? Is that even legal? This is illegal means of torture. What are y'all trying to do to me, id Software? And then y'all gonna put 2 carcass demons right there, blocking all my shots, blocking my path, so I can't even effectively run from the Marauder. I'm getting PTSD just thinking about this. I was lucky enough to get past that. And then last minute, they're gonna put some Mancubus demons and, like, no, the gate is supposed to be over already. Why I can't just let me win? Luckily, I didn't die to them at all, but by some act of God, I was able to beat that Slayer Gate. I do want to say, my method for quickly killing the first Archvow is a perfect few-second encapsulation of Doom Eternal's gameplay loop. I had to freeze him, flame belch him, weapon switch combo him, chuck frag grenades at him, and glory kill him all in succession. These complex inputs are exactly what I love about Doom's campaign. Tag 1 also introduces support runes. 2 of them are rewarded via Slayer Gate victory, 1 of them via exploration. They didn't really change the gameplay that much, but they were still neat additions to an already stacked arsenal. Tag 2 had 2-part escalation encounters. The first wave was mandatory, while the second wave was optional and more challenging, but not quite as challenging as the Slayer Gates. Again, I beat the second one on the first try. The rewards for beating both waves were cosmetics. Overall, exploration in these expansions were just an extra chunk added to an already previously fleshed out experience, and it was welcomed. Both campaigns encouraged me to use even more of my arsenal. First, as I was being less sparing with Argent ammo, the Unmaker became more of use to me as a way to quickly clean out powerful demons, especially in enclosed spaces that stopped the BFG tendrils from traveling long enough to clear out the space. And against bosses, the Spirits forced me to use the Microwave Beam, the Turds forced me to use the Precision Bolt, the Riot Soldiers with the Indestructible Shields required me to use the Remote Detonation mod for the rockets to damage them from behind. Stone Imps made me use the Auto Shotgun. I exploited the meat hook more for mobility and armor, so by the time I finished the DLC, the only things I didn't use that much were the ballista mods and the chain gun in general. And I probably should have used those more to help me through my playthrough, especially the mobile turret. That wasn't on id Software, that was on me. The Trial of Malagog and Seraphim boss fights were excellent challenges where I had to find a way to prioritize my targets while defending myself from surrounding demons. The Seraphim boss fight also encouraged me to manage my plasma ammo. The Dark Lord in Tag 2 was a simpler, mostly 1v1 boss fight, but enjoyable nonetheless. He was basically a giant marauder. I'd say my only criticism for that fight was waiting for him to either flash green for the stun or waiting for him to spawn the dog so I can refill my Sentinel Hammer ammo. That was a bit annoying, and it was a bit harder to get him to flash green than it was for the marauders. The ethereal army of demons he would summon was an awesome sight, and it was a challenge for me to kill them without using the hammer to conserve ammo. I was in a long ass stalemate before making the decision to do so. I'd say gameplay-wise, the Ancient Gods was a worthy expansion to the campaign. Obviously, the campaign's main focus, just like in Doom 2016, is gameplay and the style of arcade games of the past. So the lackluster story here doesn't really taint my overall opinion of the game. That being said, the story is lackluster, and it's mainly due to the plot and characters. But first, the good. The visual presentation is exceptional, the art style is beautiful, the graphics are phenomenal, especially with the current gen upgrades, barring the human character models will look a bit outdated. And the vistas are breathtaking. There was so much detail put in this game, from giant demons, mechs, lava, and devastation in the background, to the variety of biomes. Take notes, Halo Infinite. To the characteristic Fortress of Doom. The body language in this game just oozes cool and testosterone. The way the Doomslayer executes the Hell Priest and leaves his mark, launches himself in a giant weapon as transportation, seeing him walk through a room full of scientists that give him a look of shock and awe, reminiscent of the UNSC soldiers' reaction to Master Chief in Halo 3. That scene where those soldiers were talking shit until he walked up, they shut it the fuck up real quick. Everything he does is badass. He blew a hole in the surface of Mars. He tried to spawn camp the fuck out of the Dark Lord. Wait, hold on a second. Is he riding a motherfucking dragon? He meat hooked the Cacodemon to death. The bosses are all presented in an ominous fashion. Words cannot do justice for how badass the Icon of Sin looks and plays. The Dark Lord's intro is epic, with him looking like an evil doppelganger of the Doomslayer. There is some memorable dialogue in the story, starting with the very first line from King Noviak.
Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
That Doom Guy flashback was damn cool. With the Hell Priest before his corruption, the Dreamy Filter, Doom Guy actually speaks.
Guts. Huge guts. Kill them. Must kill them all.
He's wearied, worn, but still bloodthirsty and whooping ass. There's the annoying UAC hologram lady who talks shit throughout the entire campaign, but at the end, through the Doomslayer's perseverance, just gets tired of his shit.
Can someone kill this idiot, please?
And then there's Samuel Hayden, who doesn't approve of the Doomslayer's primitive methods. Not that the Doomslayer gives a fuck.
There is no easy way to access the core of Mars.
There are no known pathways that lead there, Dr. Hayden.
The BFG 10,000, designed by Dr. Samuel Hayden as part of the Anti-Demonic Defense Grid.
I understand. Searching the coordinates to the BFG 10,000 now.
You can't just shoot a hole into the surface of Mars.
And then, Samuel Hayden properly conveys to the Doomslayer the urgency of running through the Con Maker and making it back to Earth, with the utmost of importance.
The Icon of Sin is no longer in the Con Maker's control. The longer he is on Earth, the stronger he will grow. There is a portal we can use to follow it. We must reactivate the gate and get back to Earth.
Alright, man, I got you. I'm on the way.
There is a gate that we can use here on Ernak to get back to Earth. But you will need to reconfigure the teleporter rings to activate it. We must move quickly, for the Icon of Sin grows more powerful the longer it is on Earth.
Okay, I heard you say that the first time.
You must get the other teleporter rings aligned before it's too late.
Okay, shut up now.
The gate
You repeat
must
yourself.
be
You repeat yourself.
reactivated. The longer the Icon of Sin is on Earth, the stronger he will become.
The interactions with the intern that helps the Doomslayer defeat the Seraphim and reawaken the Dark Lord are pretty wholesome. Then there's the Dark Lord's first scene in Tag 2.
No blood can be
along with his death, where we are given the most Doomslayer response. Lastly, the ending cutscene where the Doomslayer essentially powers down and is once again buried in a sarcophagus does hit the feels because he served his purpose as a killing machine for justice, and now it all just kinda ends. It feels like the end of an era. Now the bad. In my opinion, the plot has two flaws. One, it's hard to understand via cutscenes alone, not on a basic exposition task to do type level, but underneath the surface. To summarize, in the base campaign, the Earth is under demonic invasion. Only a small percentage of humanity survives, and you have to kill 3 Hell Priests to reduce the corruption. Then you have to stop the Khan Maker from controlling the Icon of Sin to harvest Argent energy from Earth's souls to fuel her home world. Then kill the rampant Icon to save the world. But we never go much deeper than that. Most dialogue in this game feels jargony, similar to Halo 5. And you don't really understand it until you read the codex entries. Now, I skimmed through a couple of them myself to fill in a few plot points. In the ancient times, the Khan Maker made a deal with Hell to permanently harvest Argent energy in exchange of access to all worlds under Maker control for the demons. The Betrayer earned his nickname by turning on his people to revive his son, but regretted it when his son's heart was to be used to control the Icon of Sin. So the Doomslayer provided closure for him when he stabbed his son's heart. Samuel Hayden led the Ark in a failing effort against Hell's army immediately prior to Doom Eternal. The Ancient Gods explains a bit more, that Dr. Hayden is the alias of the Seraphim, who gave the Doomslayer his powers millennia ago. Vega is actually the Father, who is thought to be the creator of all things. The Doomslayer destroyed the Father's life sphere to revive the Dark Lord, kill him, and eradicate all demons from outside Hell. In the fight against the Dark Lord, Devoth drops a revelation.
For too long have I been imprisoned by my own creations. You will not stop my vengeance, nor the one who betrayed me. Tell him.
He is the first being, and my creator. When he fell, I ascended.
The Codex entries reveal that Hell was in fact the first world, and it used to be a peaceful place before it was corrupted by the Dark Lord's vengefulness against the Makers. But I found a bombshell that makes the story outright nonsensical. The Makers betrayed and sealed Devoth out of fear that his search for immortality for the people of Jakad, later Hell, would jeopardize the rest of creation. But we're never explained what Devoth did to raise those concerns in the first place. This means, until further notice, everything that happens in this story is the Maker's fault, and we have no idea why they did what they did. Which leads me to my second flaw for the plot. Even after reading the extended material and watching a YouTube video on it, the plot is still basic as fuck. We still don't know what's going on, or why the hell anyone is doing anything past the surface level except Devoth and the Betrayer. Which leads me to the characters. They're all flat and forgettable. I can accept the flatness for the Doomslayer and the Icon of Sin, who are just two badasses on opposite sides built for destruction, but for the rest of the cast to be that way is a bit underwhelming. The game doesn't even do a good job of explaining why the Doomslayer went into a coma. I had to look that up in a YouTube vid. Again, this doesn't taint the experience because the gameplay is phenomenal, and the story isn't nonsensical baby shit like Halo 5 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, but I just think a great story would have only enriched the experience. And for those that don't want the cutscenes to dilute the gameplay, all the cutscenes were skippable, so there you go. To be honest, if I had to pick a favorite character, it would probably have to be Mick Gordon. Now, his dialogue was on fleek throughout the entire campaign. For me, it was just the fact that he said, in all seriousness though, I said the gameplay was adrenaline pumping, and the same applies to the music. The OST in this game is merciless with the heavy metal. It gets a bit quieter in the DLC with more somber, ethereal tones and blood-pumping chants, but for the most part, it's straight, bass-shredding, ear-bleeding, violent guitars, drums, and techno sounds. The music is just as unapologetic as the gameplay. That Metal Factory song is underrated and hilarious in my opinion, because you can just imagine what's going on as you hear this song. Much the same can be said about Meat Hook and the rest of the songs. I found out the main menu theme pays homage to 2 songs from Doom 2, Hell on Earth, which is pretty cool. And during gameplay, the music switches depending on what you're doing. It's quiet during platforming, slightly louder fighting low to mid threat level demons, then it cranks up the volume and instruments to 11 when dealing with thick hordes and strong enemies. The Icon of Sin doesn't even have heavy metal in the background, it just has this epic ambient music with chants. It's a shame that Mick Gordon won't be back for the next Doom game, because he created a unique soundtrack not found in any other game, and whoever composes the music from here on out has lofty expectations to live up to. So even after the campaign and DLC, which were already rich with content, this game still has more. The base campaign has master levels, which are overhauled versions of existing levels with more demons and demon types. These, along with the Slayer Gates, are for those who have truly mastered Doom Eternal's combat loop and are looking for a more challenging brawl. I tried the Super Gore Nest one and I was getting hoed, but I eventually want to go back and finish one. Much the same can be said for Horde Mode, which is divided into 3 long missions which include fighting waves of enemies and platforms. There are ways to earn extra lives and a scoring system too, but I wasn't too worried about that. I was just trying to survive. I only made it to the first round of the second mission so far, and I know that Horde Mode isn't for the faint of heart. Just like the master levels, if you think you're gonna run through everything just because you beat the campaign on Nightmare, then you're in for a rude awakening. A reality that will make you wish you stayed asleep in that baby-ass Nightmare. Lastly, there's Battle Mode, a unique 1v2 PvP mode. 1 Slayer against 2 player demons and their goons. As a Slayer, the mode gives you the full campaign arsenal, minus the super weapons. You can earn the BFG as an upgrade, but it does reduce damage to players. But the combat feels different. It's still fast and skillful, but the AI demons seem a bit easier than the Nightmare AI I fought in the campaign in Horde Mode, allowing you to be more aggressive towards the player demons. This is where the challenge comes in, because if the player demons are skilled enough, they feel like you're fighting on Nightmare, possibly even harder. At least the player Marauder can't block damage. The Hell Knights seem OP, and they can do the spinning attack that deals massive damage.
Oh, I lost. That attack is just crazy. That him spamming that one bitch ass attack is just crazy.
Fighting as a demon can be pretty fun as well, but the Slayer can be pretty challenging to take down. Each demon comes with their own arsenal of abilities, as well as summoning abilities, including AoE damage over time, healing over time, and even summoning other demons. The demons can also block loot from the Slayer. I've had that happen to me a couple of times, and I was salty and desperate. I feel this mode has a level of complexity the likes of which I haven't discovered yet, but one thing that seemed skillful was when I had the Marauder and I summoned the damage zone of the Slayer, summoned 2 demons and a dog in succession while throwing the axe at him. I felt similar to the Slayer using all those inputs. You also can choose from various upgrades at the end of each round on both sides. So when the game released, there were 6 maps and the design is similar to the rest of the game. Given that this was the only multiplayer mode and that this is more of a new, niche, focused endeavor, I wouldn't have bashed the game for having that amount of maps. I consider that pretty decent given the circumstances. This mode seems experimental, and while I don't think it's the future of multiplayer for Doom, it was a new and thoughtful inclusion to a game which mainly focused on the PvE experience, and it was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Kinda want to go back and play more. The only microtransactions in this game are cosmetic, and there are hell of those you can get for free in every mode. There's even a system called events with monthly challenges, which is basically like a free battle pass, and there are no like premium items that are locked off with a paywall. All the players have access to all the rewards in the events. The monetized cosmetics came in series, and they were each like $8.99, but look at all the shit each of them came with. Multiple skins, multiple icons, multiple nameplates. This shit puts Halo Infinite to shame. I'm surprised Bethesda didn't force id Software to nickel and dime us to hell after that Fallout 76 fiasco. And the cosmetics range from cool, like the Maker Slayer set, the Demonic Slayer skin, the Doom 2 Marine, and the Samurai Pain Elemental, to silly, like the Elvis Mancubus and the Dupe meme. Nothing much to say here, just a solid, content-rich system that's not just consumer-friendly, but consumer-generous even. I can quickly talk about the UI in this section. While the dossier on the campaign feels complex and a bit clunky, that's mostly down to my clumsy ass. I do prefer for exiting codex entries to be mapped to the back button, not the select button. And they got this right for the weapon mods, Praetor tokens, and runes. The menu UI is simple, functional, and pleasant to look at. The option to change the menu background and the music between the base game and the Ancient Gods menu OST is sick. Halo the Master Chief Collection followed up on this idea with the menu background. Hopefully the next game will include both of these options, but with the songs, include this game's songs and Hellwalker from Doom 2016's menu. Might not happen with the whole Mick Gordon legal situation, but just wishful thinking. I already talked about most of the criticisms in this video and the last, like the glory killing chainsaw glitches, frame rate stutters around physics, sometimes in combat chaos too, some of the skeptical checkpoints, no save system for mission replay for the base campaign, the Crucible automatically dragging the combat shotgun to your loadout pool, the inclusion of the option to mute the music, and the lackluster story. To add to this, there was like a spot where the AI kind of froze up in the DLC. They were walking in place. Only time I've seen that. But I want to talk about those content cuts from Doom 2016. Now, I actually never played the multiplayer portion of that game, but I know it was more of a modern PvP shooter with a set of maps and the ability to create your own single player and multiplayer maps using the snap map. It had its flaws, but aside from the cringe emotes, there was a lot of good content to be experienced here. Great foundation for future Doom multiplayer games, specifically snap map. Even Halo picked up on the scripted AI thing for Forge. The idea was ahead of its time. Battle mode was fine, but I wouldn't call it worth replacing all of the previous game's content. I never played a traditional arena multiplayer shooter like Duke Nukem, Quake, or even the old Doom games, and due to the quality of the campaign, I'm curious to not only have that experience in general, like maybe I'll play Quake someday, but to see if Doom can capture that authentic arena shooter feeling in a multiplayer without compromise, just like they did in the campaign twice now. I hope we get an authentic PvP arena shooter experience in the next Doom game, not like Doom 2016's, which had too many modern aspects like a 2-weapon loadout system and random ordinances, but an old school system, something that doesn't feel by the numbers by today's standards. Doom Eternal as a whole was a top-tier, polished experience. It has a masterfully crafted gameplay loop for the campaign, which challenges the player to play with intention and use their noggin in combat, traversal, and exploration. It has 2 worthy expansions, but although Doom Eternal's game design is unapologetic, the Ancient Gods Part 2 felt a bit apologetic with the decrease in difficulty. But it was still a great add-on to the campaign. Master levels in Horde Mode offer a more challenging fight for bloodthirsty slayers, and Battle Mode, while not a suitable replacement for all of Doom 2016's multiplayer content, is a unique, skillful, and fun mode. The monetization is consumer friendly and should serve as a shining example for AAA games, as should most of the rest of the game. The game offers a wealth of content in modes and unlockables across all modes. A lackluster campaign and some other minor complaints couldn't stop this game from being an absolute masterpiece, and it was a staple, a must-play for last and or current gen consoles. Doom Eternal will go down as one of the greatest games of all time, and I'm curious to see if, without a global pandemic, id Software can top what they've accomplished here. I will forever cherish the time I had with this wonderful game. I ripped and tore until it was done. There it is, folks. That's it. That is my review for Doom Eternal. What a very tedious but enjoyable experience. I love this game. I do plan on getting the rest of those items in the campaign. I already have access to Doom and Doom 2 Hell on Earth, but I'm going to unlock those within the Doom Eternal campaign as well. I'm going to explore the rest of the Fortress of Doom itself. My other goals are, I still have to finish that Mortal Kombat 1 review. I haven't really been playing the game, to be honest, but I will get to that. I'll finish an Invasion season to see how that goes. I'm not really an expert on fighting games, so it's going to take me a bit to feel like I'm good enough to talk about the fighting system in a competent manner. My immediate next priority is Remnant 2. I procrastinated on it too much. I will play and I will beat Remnant 2. That is the next thing I'm going to be working on. I really want to put a main focus on Remnant 2. Also be playing Elden Ring at the same time. I'm also working on GTA. And I'm also going to be playing a fair amount of Red Dead Redemption 2 because, the Ackman's playing it and it kind of got me hyped to play it, But I will be finishing Remnant 2, grinding that game. It's been too long. I hope you all enjoy what's to come. I hope you all enjoy both of my Doom videos. And there's going to be a lot more to come as I expand my gaming horizons and as I explore the art form that I've enjoyed for my entire life. I want to thank you all for taking this ride with me. Oh, if you want to check out my other reviews, those are going to be in the description, and 2 of them of my choice are going to be at the end of this video as links. But I hope you all enjoy the ride. I hope you all give me a chance and continue to check me out in the future. I hope that I'm entertaining and I offered something in my videos and all my videos in general. This has been P34J. The longer the icon of sin is on Earth, the stronger he becomes. Have a good one.